Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Ibrahim and I've helped over 1,000 people with their NHS applications. If you've not got HCPC registration, we do have another video on the whole process of what HCPC is, how the whole process works, what the sort of key requirements are before you apply for the HCPC, and how the whole process works. So do check out that video. If you've already got the HCPC registration, you are in the right place. In the rest of the video, we're going to go through four things. We're going to talk about the application strategy, going through the differences between jobs in England and also Scotland. We're going to break down the technical interview process, going through IRMA, some sort of radiation protection laws and safety. And then we're going to cover the visa and logistics. And finally, I'm going to share the real truth about working as a radiographer in the NHS, specifically the shift patterns and the generalist culture. So in terms of actually applying for jobs, if you're applying for jobs in England and Wales, you've got the NHS Jobs platform, or you can use Trac.jobs. We'll try leave the link somewhere. And we've also got videos on these platforms on how you can actually use them. And we do like a job application with you on them videos. With regards to jobs in Scotland, rather, NHS Scotland uses a different recruitment system, a completely different website. But again, we have done a video on that before, and we'll try leave that for you somewhere. So do follow that. And again, we go through how to apply, how to find the jobs, and how to submit your application through that platform. Regardless of where you're working, though, the most of whether you're applying through NHS Jobs or whether you're applying through NHS Scotland, the most important thing is the supporting information. Now, this is the section which is going to be used when they're deciding who they're going to shortlist. It's around 1,500 words, and what you need to do is to write a statement that shows you're the best person for the job. You're going to be matching it basically to the person's specification. You're looking at the person's specification, and you're telling the trust, you're writing to the trust, and you're telling them why you are the best candidate, how you meet all of the criteria that they're looking for. Now, the whole process can feel quite complicated. It's probably the most difficult part of the application process, I think, probably supporting information and then probably interviews once you're actually accepted with your application. But in terms of pre-interview stage, this is the most difficult part of the application process. And we have got another video, a separate video on writing a supporting information. We actually had a live job that we found, and we write a supporting information with you in that video. So do check it out. But regarding the specific pain point of writing the supporting information, it's one of the main reasons we've released the NHS Jobs Fast Track Guide. It's normally worth £49, but it's now free, and it's got tips and tricks where we've helped over 1,000 people with applying to the NHS, and we've left a pinned comment, and you can actually get this guide for free today. So with regards to the interviews, so we have released a separate video on radiography interviews, and we've also got another video just on interviews in general in the NHS and how you can prepare well for them. In terms of the main focus when you're applying, so make sure you're aware of the NHS values, the trust values, make sure you're aware of the legislation, particularly the radiation protection laws, which are IRMA 2017 and the IRR rules. And then make sure you're aware of the common scenarios. We go through them in the other video that we've got, but things like, checking if a patient is pregnant, what you do if you'd x-rayed a wrong patient, and making sure you're aware of these scenarios, what happens when things go wrong, and the way to escalate them properly. There would be a mix of some technical questions. You may be expected to look at some imaging and sort of a red dot system interview questions where they'll show you some sort of x-rays with some pathology or with some abnormalities, and you would be expected to point them out. So briefly, going over the visa, once you've accepted an offer, the trust will then start a whole bunch of onboarding. At this point, you're going to be submitting your university certificates, references, and any other information that the hospital wants from you. It's normally quite organized with a lot of hospitals. They normally give you access to a portal, and you start submitting your information through there. Once all this has gone through, the trust then issues you a second offer, and this is known as an unconditional offer. And this is to say that you've passed the whole onboarding process. We're now ready to offer you a start date. Once this is done, then the trust can then issue you a certificate of sponsorship. With this number that the trust would give to you, you can apply for a health and care workers visa. It's cheaper than the standard visas, and it's usually processed in around 3 weeks. And As radiographers are on the shortage occupation list, it does mean you can bring your dependents, your partners, your children, you can bring these people with you to the UK. Most trusts should offer some sort of relocation package if you're applying from abroad. Usually, it could include a few months of free accommodation. Some trusts may offer you some reimbursement towards your initial flight to the UK, but again, that would be all to discuss with the team. Once you've had your unconditional offer, if you're struggling financially or you would like the trust to help you more to ensure you can move sort of safely to the UK without too much stress, do email them. A lot of trusts have got different things. So even if they don't pay for it sometimes, they do have the option sometimes to lend you money, where they'll take it out of your first 6 pay slips, for example, and they're willing to lend you a certain amount of money up front. And there's other options available. With regards to accommodation, they could give you some free accommodation, or a lot of the time they've partnered up with local people who are willing to offer you accommodation at a discounted rate. Once you land, you're going to have a sign-off process. So you're going to come into the UK, you're going to start your first job, and there may be a process of sort of around 4 to 12 weeks where you're sort of like on probation. You're going to have limited duties. You're not going to be doing the full roster of shifts. You might just be working 9 to 5s or long days. You'd usually have a mentor, and this is really just sort of a bridging process between your previous experience and sort of getting fully settled into the NHS. And that whole process can take up to sort of 3 to 4 months, depending on how you get on once you arrive in the UK. Quick pause before we continue. I want to show you a brand new tool I built that will seriously make your NHS job search faster, easier, and way less stressful. Let me show you how you can apply for an NHS job and prepare for the interview in under 60 seconds. First, I complete my profile so the tool understands exactly who I am. Now let's apply to an NHS job together. I search for a role, choose this one and copy the person specification and job description. I then paste this into the generator, and just like that, there it is. A fully tailored, personalized, role-specific supporting information section created automatically. Now I'm going to prep for the interview. I generate intelligent interview questions using the Smart Assistant, type in my answers and instantly receive feedback on how to improve them. After that, I revise using flashcards. I simply paste in the job description and the tool generates custom flashcards so I can start practicing straight away. Finally, I add the job to my tracker to keep everything organized. A process that normally takes hours, now done in minutes. If you want access, email info@healthhireuk.com to get started. Once radiographers start in the NHS, a lot will have what we call a reality check, or shocks to the system. And this is normal. But if you know about these before you start your job, it is going to make your life a lot easier. So let's go through the different shocks or the realizations that radiographers have normally once they start working in the UK. The first is no immediate MRI or CT specialization. Most of the times, especially if you're applying into the NHS directly, your role is going to be mainly working in X-ray, working in across A&E theatres, outpatient clinics, but generally you're only going to be working with X-rays, and they're not going to allow you to work in MRI or CT immediately. And that can be quite a shock to the system, particularly if in your previous roles you'd been working in MRI or working in CT. You may not get that immediately once you arrive into the UK, so that can be a bit of a shock. The second one is shifts. You're expected to cover a 24/7 rota, so that includes nights, weekends, bank holidays. You will be paid fairly. So if you're working nights and Saturdays, you get paid a 30% premium for that shift. And if you're working a Sunday, you will get a 60% premium for that shift. But do expect to have a real variety of shifts. You could be working 9 to 5s one week. You could be working long days one week where you're doing 12-hour days, but you're only doing 3 to 4 days. Another week you could be doing night shifts, and it will change as the months go on. But do expect basically to cover every part of that 24/7 rota. The third shock that most radiographers have once they arrive in the UK is that you are legally a practitioner. And you have a duty to also justify requests, make sure that any doctor who's requested a imaging exam or an x-ray, for example, that the examination is justified, that it is the best examination for that patient, particularly because it involves radiation as well. There's a whole set of legal responsibilities that you have because you are the practitioner. So make sure you're aware of these rules, make sure you're aware of the legislation. Most trusts will have what we call local rules. And so basically the guidance on sort of what we should be scanning for, what we should be x-raying for, or what we shouldn't be doing. And normally that's like a good starting point. But again, once you start, you should have a mentor, and it's really good to work with them and just make sure you really understand the process. It's not like in other countries where if a doctor says x-ray this, you're going to x-ray that. This is much more of a process where you are responsible as a practitioner. We have got a separate radiography playlist where we've got other videos on sort of going through interviews, applying for the HCPC, and sort of a life day in the life of a radiographer in the UK. So if you've got some time, do check these other videos out. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Please leave any questions in the comment section and I will try get back to you. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye. We built Health Hire to make NHS applications so much easier, from writing your supporting information tailored for each role to practicing real interview questions with feedback. It's all here. Grab lifetime access for just £70 and start applying with confidence. Email us at info@healthhireuk.com.